Hello again, this is Brian, and we are going to continue building our full stack application. So in the last episode, we created these dummy routes, dummy routes that we tested with Postman, and we saw that they work. Okay, so if someone visits /API/inventory, then we use that router we created inside the inventory items file to handle their requests. So now the next portion, as we talked about last time, is to introduce a database that will allow users to add and to get, to update and to delete records. Okay, so for this we are going to use MongoDB. You can use SQL if you want, but I'm going to use MongoDB. Now I'm going to use Mongoose. Instead of using MongoDB directly, I'm going to use Mongoose because it makes it much easier to work with MongoDB, because it allows you to create schema and models that give more structure to your application or to your database. So the first thing you're going to do is we are going to create a folder called models. Okay, so I'm going to create a folder called models. Now in this folder we are going to add a model for our inventory item. So what you're going to do is you're going to, inside the models folder, we're going to create inventory item model. Okay, so now we say that you're going to use Mongoose. Okay, now Mongoose is a package that does not come with Node.js. So what you're going to do, you're going to have to install it. So you're going to install Mongoose, and this is going to be a dependency, a runtime dependency. So it's not, so we are going to install it directly like that. So while it's doing that, while it's installing, I'm going to import it. Okay, so I'm going to import Mongoose from the Mongoose package that we just installed. As you can see down there in the terminal, it has already installed. Okay, and then we are going now to start creating. First we have to create a schema, and then we're going to create a model. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is create inventory item schema. Now, so remember, we are trying to make the words we use in our program as descriptive as possible. So it's Mongoose schema, and this will be an object. Okay, and then we are going now to start adding the properties that we want to be in our database. Okay, so for example, we are going to have the name, the product name. Okay, so we can say name, and we can say that this is going to be a string, that is its type. Okay, however, there are some things we need. Okay, we want to force the user, we don't want the user to skip on the name and probably enter some other detail. Okay, like for example, we don't want to allow the user let's say we have another object called category. Okay, we don't want the user to have to skip the name and then enter the category. We want to make some fields to be mandatory. Okay, so for name, we're going to place there another object, and then we are going to say that the type is going to be string, and it's going to be required. Okay, so it's required like that, and then we're going to say true. And so this is an object, we need to add a comma over there. Okay, and then we now add other properties. Okay, so we're also going to like have other properties, so we can just copy paste this instead of typing it out again. We can copy paste that, and because see we are still inside an object here, we need to add a comma. Okay, and now we are going to say that the second property is going to be the category. Okay, then we're also going to the price bought. Okay, so how much did we buy this item? Okay, price bought, and this is not going to be a string, we are going to say this is going to be a number, and it's required. Okay, now the next thing we want to add is the reason for buying that product. Okay, so we want to keep a record so that we know what justification did we have for buying that product. Okay, so that in future when we are buying something else, we can see whether it's really important for us to have it. Okay, so the next item we're going to add is date. Okay, so we want to say on which date did we buy this product. So sorry for that, it's date bought. Okay, and the type of this is going to be a date. Okay, and it's required. Okay, so those are the main things we need for our application, for our database. So let's just go through it one more time to see if everything makes sense. So every inventory item that we create is going to have a name, which will be a string and required. It's going to have a category, which will also be a string and required. It will have the price, which will be a number and required. And it's going to have a reason bought, which will be a string and required. It's going to have, okay, so I have another category here. It's supposed to be reason bought. Okay, reason bought, we already have it over there. And then date bought, we have it, so I can get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. And then reason bought is a string and it's required. And then the date we bought it is as date is type of, it's of type date and it's required. And then one more thing I'm going to do, I wanted to, we're not going to have any default values here. Okay, like let's say if I'm just thinking maybe we should have the date that we added this product to the database. But I'm thinking no, let's just have the date bought, because that's going to complicate things. Okay, so the next thing we do after we create a schema is we create a model. Okay, so we're going to create a model called inventory item model, and this is going to be mongoose model, and inside that model we are going to give that model a name. Okay, so we are going to call this inventory item model, and then it's going to ask us for the schema to use, and so we already defined a schema over here, so I could just copy that and then paste it here. Okay, and then the final thing you're going to do is export this model. So we are going to export it as the default export from this file. So we're going to call it inventory item model. Okay. And I think I read somewhere that it's a good practice to have this as capital. Okay, so we're also just going to maintain the same tradition or idea that this should be a capital letter. Okay, so now we have created our inventory model. The next thing we want to do is we are going to create a database that can be connected to remotely. So on my browser, I'm going to use MLab. Okay, I'm going to use MLab here. So to create the database, so I'm just going to log in. So once I log in, okay, I'm going to see I have already some deployments over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new deployment, which can also be done. Oh, this is a new environment, this is a new deployment. So you're going to click on create a new deployment. And then here you can choose any cloud provider that you wish. You can choose Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, or AWS. So I'm just going to choose Google Cloud. It's just the same thing. What you do now is you want to choose the sandbox option, which is free. Okay, it's free. It gives you up to 0.5 GB. The others are paid. Okay? So let us select the free one, and then we click on continue, and then we have to select a region. Okay, we're going just to select this one is the only one that is available, Iowa. Once we select that, we are going to click on continue, and then you're going to give our database a name. Okay, so what are we going to call our? We're going to call ours inventory so it's saying that database name must be lowercase, so I'm just going to call it inventory database. Okay, then click on continue. So it's going to tell us that the price is free and just a summary of everything, and then we're going to click on submit order. So once that is complete, you can see it's saying it's still in progress. So once it's complete, I can click on that database, and here it gives us a connection string. Okay, MongoDB / something something. Okay, so you see here it gives us something inside angle brackets, DB user and DB password inside angle brackets. Now what happens is we are going to have to create a user, and then we are going to replace these two values with the user and password that we create. So down here we can go to users, the users tab, then we can click on add database user. So we're just going to give it some random, so I can say test user, and then password I'm just going to use password, and then I'm going to confirm down here with password. Oh, I clicked on escape. Okay, so I'm going to add a number over here 1 and a number over here 1, and then we said here we should use test user. Okay, so then the password you use needs to have letters and a number. Okay, and we also want to write to our database, so we do not want to make it read-only. Okay, so I think everything is good for now, so we're going to create that user. So once we do that, we can now get this string and use it inside our application. So the first thing we are going to do is inside server.js, okay, we are going to import Mongoose because we are going to connect to the database from here, okay. So we are going to import Mongoose inside here. And then we are going to connect to Mongoose. Before we get to any routes, we are going to connect to Mongoose, okay? Because if we place the connection string over here, then these requests are going to be handled before the connection to the database occurs, and this is going to fail, okay? So once we import Mongoose, we can now call Mongoose, and we're going to call the connect method, okay. And then we are going also here now inside this between these quotation marks, we are going to pass in this connection string over here, okay. So after I copy it, I'm going to paste it over there, okay. And then I'm going to add a callback function that is going to be fired when we have connected to the database. So once we connect to the database, what do we want to happen? Once we connect to the database, I'm just going to console log with a message connected to database, okay. So the thing is here is that we have to replace these values with values we created. So we said our user is called test user and our password is password1, okay. So if we connect to this database at this point, it should work, okay, but let us just test it. So I'm going to run npm run dev, and this dev is, we created this script over here. Dev should run node on server.js, okay. When we run that, it's going to tell us some messages from Mongoose that there's a deprecation warning, okay, and then finally it tells us that it's connected to the database, okay. So what it's telling us here is that we should pass an option inside our connection. So we have used new URL parser set to true. So what happens is right after the connection string and before the callback function, we need to pass in that object over there, okay, new URL parser true. That's what it's telling us to do. So if I save that, sorry, I need to add a comma over here, okay. So now that one error is gone, we only have not an error, we only have now one warning, okay. Now we need to add the use unified topology true. So here what we need to do is on the same object we can add a comma and then paste in the second part, okay. And now you see it's saying connected to database and it's not giving us any errors, okay. Now one thing to note is that we don't usually want to place this connection string. We don't want to place this connection string where it can be easily accessed, because if someone has access to your username and password and the connection string, they can do damage to your database, especially if they have read and write permissions to the database, okay. So we usually want to hide this away from the user. So I'm going to split my terminal again, and now I'm going to create a file over here in the root of my project called .n, okay. So this is .n, and here in .n I'm going to add Mongo I'm just going to add an object called Mongo, then I'm going to add an equals sign, and I'm going to paste this, all of this. I'm going to cut that from there and place it inside there. Okay, once I do that, I need to install another package called .env. Okay, so npm install .env, like that. So what .env is going to do, it is going to help us to set environment variables. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to import .env. We're going to import .env, and then we are going to configure .env. So we're just going to call .env.config, like that. Okay, and once we do that, we can remove these quotation marks, and we can say that we want to connect to process.env. Our variable, environment variable, is called Mongo. Okay, so we are going to pass in Mongo over here. Okay, so let us just save this file and see if it still works. And you see it's staying connected to the database. Okay, so now this is how we usually do it. We put it inside a .env file, and then we use the .env package to get that environment variable from the .env file. Now we have not done much here, because this .env file can still be accessed from, like, if we post it to GitHub, if we push this code to GitHub, this file can still be accessed. So what we want to do is we also want to go to the git ignore file, and we want also to ignore the .env file. Okay, so I've added the .env here, and you can see it's not being tracked anymore. So when we push our code to GitHub, this file is not going to be tracked. Okay, so now based on that, now we are now ready to start now adding connection. We are now ready to start adding functionality to get data from the database, to push or to post or to save data to the database, to update and to delete. And for that, I'm going to stop that video at this moment, and then in the next video we are going now to create the functionality for sending and getting and updating and deleting data from the database. So I hope you learned something from that, and see you in the next tutorial. Thank you very much.